All right. And we are back for our final speaker of the day. Once again, you already know my word I'm about to use. Excited. Excited to have Gabriella. Gabriella, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Marlon. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. Super excited that you're here. Gabriella is a software engineer at Twitch. Real quick, let the people know what is Twitch for people who may not be aware of what it is.
So Twitch is actually a live streaming platform where you're able to stream anything. It's pretty notable for you to stream your video games. But now there's Twitch music. You can see where you can come in and sing. You could also see cases where people just chat. So it's pretty much just a platform for you to live stream anything, to be honest.
Yeah, Twitch is. I've been following Twitch for quite some time. Um, and I think that as soon as I came across it, I knew it was going to be something. And so for people who may not know, too, Twitch right now viewership in the last couple of years, I know, gets more daily viewers than it was MSNBC, CNN, and the MLB combined. It is a massive, massive platform, and it's only going to continue to grow. So yeah. Um, so Gabriella, where you from?
I'm from Nigeria.
Nice. And so, when did you transition here?
I came here in 2015, and yeah.
So in 23, you come directly to the Bay, or?
Oh no, I went to New York. That's where I schooled.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So was it high school or college out in New York?
College. I actually enrolled at the Borough of Manhattan Community College in 2016. So
Mhm.
that's where I started.
Yeah. Awesome. So Gabriella, you know, when did your journey? I'm sorry. Where did your interest, shall I say, of coding start? Like, when did that start?
Okay, it's more of a story. Coding wasn't actually my initial interest. I wanted to do aeronautics, but like I was really passionate about aerospace and all of that. But the thing is, I really thought coding was uncool to do. But eventually, based on like encouragement from my elder brother, he did mention that this is something that's actually been very impactful for us. And then I took a step to look into it, and then I started getting interested in it. I would say that I started getting interested in 2015, right before I enrolled in school. I started to self-teach myself how to code in Python, and I started out using Code Academy, and I started to see the sense in coding and writing something that does exactly what you want it to. I mean, given that, it doesn't fail, but it was a really nice feeling to do that. So that's how I started off.
Yeah, I think it's really funny because I think that's one thing I have to learn that uh, if something fails and you have a bug in it, more nine times out of ten, it is doing exactly what you asked it to do.
Yeah,
Like
definitely.
So why is this working? Like, because you wrote it this way.
Yeah.
Okay. So you said you was at a community college. Uh, and you were studying? You was going to study then aeronautics.
No. So I made a trade-off to choose what was possible for me at the time. So it was crazy. I was at that point, I got very confused as to what I did. So I initially enrolled in biology. Maybe medicine was an option. But when I started to code, I changed my major, and then I enrolled for computer science. And that's the step I took. And yeah, I went through the 2-year associates program, and I graduated with my associate before transferring to a 4-year college.
I know this is high level, but it sounds like you was kind of going back and forth from being an astronaut to a doctor, and then you was like, yeah, you know what? I think software engineering is the route for me. You know, what's the transition there? Like, what? Better question. Uh, you know, in a lot of industries, in specifically engineering, the percentages of women engineers are not high. So, what was it in you that you either saw or convinced yourself that you like, I can do this as well?
Um, I think at the end of the day, I think I was someone who was always curious about engineering and actually the sciences. So I knew for sure I was going to be in the sciences. I didn't know exactly which one. Um, for aeronautics, it was more of the case that I hated physics. So that wasn't going to work out. But I really love it. I still do love it. With medicine, I thought about it. You spend 7 years, you have to go through the MCAT. At that point, I'm not sure, it's expensive to go through medical school. And then software engineering just seemed straight off. I was just like, you know what? I could deal with math, not so much physics, and a bunch of other sciences that I was very cool with. So I thought that, that made sense for me at the point. And I thought that if at any point I felt like, oh, this wasn't for me, I didn't think it shouldn't have been too bad of a transition to maybe going to aeronautics or maybe into medicine, because it's still in that STEM field and you can be able to take courses that can kind of link you there. So that's why I chose computer science at that point in time.
Okay, so were you still in college at this time, or just after, before?
Before I enrolled, just right before I enrolled, I had to make all
Okay,
those decisions.
so okay, so what did wait, actually do you declare a major in community college?
You do. You
Okay.
can choose not to and just
Okay.
be like a liberal arts or just a general science. But I declared I wanted to have something in place and
Mhm.
decide what I wanted to do.
Okay. So going through this and everything, did the community college education help you at all? And so it's like for the engineering career, or was it mostly just self learning?
People have the presumption that you won't get the best out of a community college. I might be wrong, but I feel like that's the most people's perception. But the thing is, actually, the professors there actually, at least the professors I took, were amazing. They actually gave me solid education. Like I feel like one of my best professors, like actually three of the best professors who actually gave me life-changing courses and education were actually in the community college I went to. And this was a math professor, two CS professors who were really amazing and who really changed the course of actually the course of who I am right now. Actually, they're really amazing.
I think that's really interesting because in my own personal experience, I don't think I've ever heard anyone talk about the education they got, particularly from a community college. I would hear, my brother, he was doing programming, or I went to a full university and got that, or I went to this boot camp. So I think that's very interesting, for you to say your experience, going through a community college. So talk about what are some of the things that you learned when while you was in school. What are some things that you learned while you was there?
Just okay. Could you maybe rephrase, because I feel like it's very open ended.
Sure. So was it more was it more practical skills you was learning? Was it more theory and like CS principles and stuff is you were learning while you was in school? Were you building projects? So like, what are some of the things he was doing to kind of like help you kind of get your journey started?
So let me speak particularly with the computer science curriculum, since that's what I did. It was actually exactly the first 2 years, because it's 2 years for community college. It was pretty much the same material you would get from a 4-year college, to be honest. So be it practical, be it theoretical, I went through all of that. We did projects, we coded, we did stuff. And obviously, I'll say it again, and I think this applies to anybody who goes to any college. Sometimes your choice in professors does matter. I always made sure that I got ahead and took the best professors, and actually took the hardest ones, because I feel like that's what students avoid the most. It really drills your foundation. I decided to make sure that I really took the professors that would give you the solid content you need to grow. So did everything I could possibly imagine for CS for your first 2 years.
Okay, so now then you're making your way through community college. Coming out of this, did you go to another school? Did you start building projects? Did you get a job? What was the next steps after that?
So after BMCC, I went to another CUNY college, because it's all in the CUNY system. I transferred to another CUNY college, 4-year college. And during BMCC, when I was in the community college, I had an internship then, and I was also doing undergraduate research with like a professor who had like research interest in robotics. So those are one of the things I did while I was still in school. So those things actually help. I also delved into being a tutor for CS students. So I would tutor students in like introductory programming courses in school, like that. So those are the type of things that help you grow, But many people say, many people think that you can't have those type of things in a community college. But I think at the end of the day, professors are actually one of the strongest links, to really give you the right connect and give you the access that you actually need to grow.
So it sounds like you would, and I mean, most community colleges are cheaper than state schools or universities and stuff, mm-hmm. and can be a definitely an affordable option. Mm-hmm. So talk about the benefits, because even if you come out of school, you still have to self-learn and mm-hmm. stuff, and still start teach yourself. So talk about the benefits that you got from the community college that help you prepare you to like how to teach yourself or learn new languages or pick up new other like syntax and stuff. So what things from the community college help you prepare you for like your self-learning journey?
All right. So I think the basic thing, and just in general, any school could give you the foundation to teach yourself. And I feel like that was the whole point of college. That's the whole point of college, to actually know how to self-learn. So I learned the basics, and through experiential learning, which is something I am a heavy proponent for, that's what actually makes you grow. It's one thing to also self-learn. It's also one thing to have real world experience. So during that time, I had an internship that really made me grow in so many ways as an engineer. I got mentorship from actual engineers and things of that sort. So that's what helped me. The only one thing I'd mention is the thing about going to a community college is there isn't as much access as you would like versus going to a senior college or to a school that's notable, because it's hard. It's very hard to score an internship. Recruiters won't look at your resume at all. Don't even stress it. So scoring that internship was very hard, but at the end of the day, it's just getting, your leg into just breaking through the first door. I feel like that's the first thing that really matters at the end of the day.
So is there anything else attached to the word access other than like internships? Like, was there anything else that you realized that was hard as well? Because, their perspective of like you coming from community college, you may not know as much or be as good or whatever it may be. So was it anything else attached to the access word?
The access part is also like funding, you have a community college, funding is limited. There's only so much you can do, and there are many students. So that's part of the whole access issue. Another thing is I came in as an international student. To get certain approvals to do certain things, I had to go through a very stressful situation just to get approved for an internship. In fact, there was no pathway for me to have experiential learning at all. And actually, because of my very rare case, I had to seek a dean to get something done within the curriculum to allow me to intern. It was just a very, very difficult process. And I'm happy that I went through that, because now I think the computer science department has enacted a new curriculum that allows students, regardless of their immigration status, to actually seek internships and actually get experiential learning, because it's very important you start early. And, as a community, being in a community college, you're already behind, to be honest, in terms of, access.
Got it. So you mentioned an internship. Where was that at?
GP Shopper, which was like a company that built mobile apps for retail companies. It was later acquired by Synchrony Financial.
Nice. How long were you there?
The first time I interned there, I interned for 6 months, and the second time I interned for a year.
Okay. And so, as far as time frame wise, how long after coming from community college, how long was it till you landed your first internship?
So I started there during my first semester of sophomore year, so of my second year. So that's where I started, and I did it for 6 months. And then the second time I returned, which was 2018, I did it for the entire 1 year. I started from February 2018 and it ended in like January 2019.
Gotcha. Okay, so you're making your way through community college. You went to another one. You got your first internship, and you're already experiencing certain hurdles and stuff that another individual who's not international is experiencing. So not only are you experiencing these hurdles, you're going to have your own hurdles and stuff as a software engineer. I would imagine you have your another set of hurdles and stuff being a woman in a male dominant field. How are you balancing all this mentally? How are you balancing all this mentally as you're going through this process?
Honestly, I would say at the end of the day, I feel like the only reason why I was able to get through it was because I've had someone who's been through this before me. My brother I'll speak about him again. He's been an instrumental role model for me because he too went through that process. He made me know mistakes he made that I shouldn't make. And even when I was really stressed out, he, get back to me objectively, kind of guide me. And it goes back to, in general, everybody needs that kind of role model going forward, because there's so many things that you don't know, and so many things somebody, some way, somehow has already experienced that. And I feel like, if you're fortunate enough to have someone like a mentor or a friend or someone who's been through this and they're there with you and you're working together to see you grow, I think that's very important. And also very supportive friends, faculty, all of these things matter a lot.
Okay, so after your first internship, what was your next step after that? And actually, doing this internship, what were you doing? What were you doing on the side? Were you still learning additional things? Were you building projects? You mentioned before that you was mentoring. So, what are some things you were doing on the side during that process?
On the side or during my internship, or like
during your internship, yeah.
So during my internship, the first time I interned there, because I later returned the following year, the first time I interned there, I because I was a sophomore, there's only so much I knew. I pretty much, was immersed with testing, automation testing, and things of that sort. And that's, getting familiar with the code base, learning a lot of principles, all of them teaching, all the engineers, pretty much being my mentors, teaching me certain things, with the back end and just how it worked. And then when I returned, I got more fully ingrained with integrations of external APIs or third-party APIs. So that's what we used to build the backend for the retail apps that we created. So one of my keystone was working as a second engineer for building the backend for Arding, which is like a retail store, a pretty popular retail store. So I did the backend integrations for the APIs and all of that, and I built that during the summer. That was really a huge milestone because I felt like I didn't really know anything. I was just growing and learning, and it was really awesome to see that what I did, I could see what I did. So when I opened the app, I was like, hey, I built the endpoint for that. So those are the type of things that really made me grow. And then, yeah, and on the side, I was just, trying to learn so many things. I'll learn random things. My previous manager there was pretty amazing too. I'll just try to learn pretty random things. He was also teaching me sometime how to set up my own email, but my own private email. So things like that, just giving me general engineering advices and all of that.
Sweet. Okay, so after your first internship, what was the next step there? Did you land another job and stuff? Like, what was the next step after your first internship?
So at that point, I was already at Queen's College. I had already been with them for quite some time. I really loved the team, but I also thought that I wanted to do something different and learn from other people, have a different experience. It will always be my stepping stone. It was always my first. And actually, I really loved working there. So it's very memorable, and I saw, the opportunity to also learn other things. So I was very active. So I'd go for like conferences or women in tech programs. So during Grace Hopper, I happened to stumble upon a really nice logo. This was how I applied to Twitch. I saw a very beautiful logo. I was like, oh, this logo, it looks nice. Purple is like my favorite color. Oh, let me apply. I didn't know what Twitch was. So I looked at Twitch. I liked this and I applied to it. I applied directly to their site. Next, I had an interview a couple months later and I got the internship there.
So with going through applying to it, what was the interview process like? When you applied.
It's pretty crazy because Twitch, in general, I would say Twitch is a very competitive company to be in, to be honest. And my odds were actually crazy because I applied directly to the sites. I didn't get any referrals or anything. I just boom. And what's crazy was that I was interviewing other places. Unfortunately, they didn't work out. I mean, fortunately, I'm here, so I'm good. I had applied to several bunch of other places, and I applied to Twitch. And their process was really heavy because they went through so many applications. So they finally got back to me like 3 months after. I'm like, wait, you guys are still getting back to me now? Okay, sure, I'll do it. So it took a couple of months. They got back. I was scheduled with an interview with my now manager. I did well in that interview. Then I got into another interview where I interviewed with 3 other engineers who are actually, my teammates now. And I did well in those. And then I got the offer to be an intern last summer. And then that's when I came to San Francisco to intern here.
When you applied, initially you say you applied because you saw a nice logo. Did you look at like the requirements at all when you applied?
I mean, to be honest, as an intern, I don't think requirements should matter that much. It didn't matter to me, at least, at the very least. So, as long as it was a language or a stack I was interested in, then I would apply for it. If you're doing something, let's say like front end, I probably won't go there. I don't have the I'm very picky on things. Like I don't have the mental capacity to do front end. It's just very very exact, and you have to think a lot about the designs and all of that. I can't picture that. I don't think I'm visual in that way. So I knew for sure I was not going to do front end. So I saw myself maybe between mostly back end, because that's already the experience I had. I was open to any other thing, but yeah, I just applied to any place, to be honest.
So interesting. How early in your process did you realize that front end wasn't for you?
I think it was just as simple as building a full stack site, and I really struggled a lot with like HTML. It sounds crazy, but like it's difficult to really picture things. It's a whole lot. Like I knew it was a whole lot for me to picture myself in front end. Like just the whole creative process, like especially when you have to decide on what your site or your web app is supposed to look like, and doing all of those. I wasn't adept. I wasn't good with that. I knew where my strengths were, and I knew my strengths at that point in time was actually backend. But at the end of the day, as an engineer, you should be able to work anywhere. So right now I'm actually doing React because why not? As a self-learning process, it's not like, oh, I'm not never going to do it. I wouldn't say it's my strongest suit, but it's this kind of things you have to know, okay, I'm weak in this area, so let me work on it, So, but I mean, right now I'm not doing that. So yeah.
Good. Now I think that's really interesting because you do hear a lot of people that kind of like transition and stuff to front end. Like I'm mostly in front end. I'm the opposite of you, so I cringe when it comes time to stuff back in. I'm just like, I'm gonna run away, and stuff. And so definitely. So what are you usually doing and covering in your stack on your day-to-day at Twitch?
Oh, at Twitch, I work with the Android team. So so we pretty much use Kotlin, Java, no, Kotlin, some Java, Android framework. Excuse me. A bunch of whole libraries that, to make your whole Android development process similar. So we use RX Java too. So things like that.
From your perspective, I've never touched Android, never touched Java, Kotlin, or anything, but I see Kotlin starting to get really, really popular. What, from your perspective, what is it about Kotlin that's making it so desirable in whatever way?
It's not Java. It's just as someone who's coming from Python, like who started out with Python, I feel like I've worked with Java, like it's great, it's a very powerful language. All languages are actually very powerful in their own ways, but like, and obviously I've not had much like very long experience with developing Android apps or anything, but like from what I can see is that there's just some sort of nice way Kotlin can do some certain things. It also feels somewhat Pythonic. Like it feels like I see very similar things that happens there that also happens in Python. Like, and it's just easier, it's less verbose, it's just less work. It's nice and clean. No, it's very concise and everything. So that's it for me personally. I honestly have no, I'm not fanatical about it. I would write Java, sure, but like it's cool either ways. But like I think I'd prefer Kotlin than writing more lines of code, if that helps.
Gotcha. Okay. That was funny. It's not Java. Okay, cool. So just to kind of like rehash and stuff here, number one, you come from You come here in 2015. Go to a community college, transition to another community college.
Four-year
Go
college,
from
four-year college.
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah, for a 4 year college, so community college to a
Yeah.
4 year college, and then go to an internship. And as you're still self learning and stuff here, um, apply to Twitch because he thought it was a nice logo, which I would never forget. Which said, well, okay, question: did you have any indication that Twitch is going to be what it is now?
Oh no, I did. Obviously, when I got through the process, I read about it. So I was like, oh, this is a
Mhm.
very great company, actually. So it's not just,
Okay.
yeah. But I mean, the initial
All right.
response was, it's a nice
Yeah.
logo, you know.
Yeah, it's definitely on its way to become one of the fangs. If add a T to it or something. Um, okay, so you've made your way and stuff up into Twitch, and you was an you was you just got hired on full time in January, correct?
February.
In February, okay.
Yeah.
What? So hold on. So we met last year. So you wasn't in the Bay then?
I was for the internship.
Oh, okay. All right. So you oh nice. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Um so you made your way into Twitch and stuff here. So kind of giving somebody the advice who may be listening in who uh maybe is at a community college or think that community college may be a good route for him or her. But they also too want to see themselves get to a Twitch. What's some things that you would recommend for a day one person to start along their journey?
Okay. Okay. So first thing, take the hard professors if you're coming from a community college. Make sure you transfer to a four-year college after you're done because that is when the recruiters start to see your resumes. Start doing leak code as soon as possible. Lots of it. People who come from very notable schools start from their freshman year. The average, I'm just making based on guesses on the students I've met in public institutions, they start to figure all those things out by their third year or fourth year. So if you start by your freshman year, that's the way to go. Go out for meetups, hackathons, conferences, very important. Especially if you're a woman in tech, a Black woman in tech, be active with Grace Hopper, be going to their conferences, subscribe to their newsletters. If you're in New York City and you go to a CUNY public school, learn more about the Whitney program because this is a part of the programs that's really active in. And in general, I believe other states and many other colleges have, their own resources too. So I'll say keep your ears to the ground to hear more about opportunities about like that. Join platforms like LinkedIn, Twitter. Another thing that's pretty popular is Jumpstart.me. You hear all the stories that students come in to put stuff, you can read the forums, you learn a lot from there. And just keep applying. Every year apply. Whether you think you're competent or not, apply. Just do it. You see the growth over the years. It's very important. Just do it, just do it. Don't stop. Don't take no for an answer. And, even the smartest people, they don't always know what you're doing. So it's true,
Yeah. Okay. So you just said just apply. Just kind of do it. So what? And it's kind of a hard question to ask, but when you apply for some of these positions, what percentage of the requirement they was asking for? Because I also, my personal opinion, I always think that's like um, just kind of like a smoke screen, just to
Mhm.
kind of like eliminate and stuff in a lot of people who may just kind of want scare. But what percentage of what they was asking for do you actually think you was comfortable with?
I won't say uncomfortable. I feel like most of the roles, like I think at that point I had maybe it, or at least I had the potential to work with whatever they had. It's just a matter of maybe if your skill set applies to certain roles they want experience in. But at the end of the day, you're an intern. Really, what do you want from an intern? Um, the basic foundations, the engineering skills, the thought process. I feel like those come along because as an intern, you may be working on this thing this year, and you go to another internship and you're doing something entirely different. So sometimes they apply, sometimes it doesn't. It's very important to just, once you tick off, maybe you need to be a sophomore, or you need to have taken a certain class, or maybe build some projects in some sort of way. I think you should be eligible to apply everywhere, whether you hear back or not. Just do it. You're an intern, to be honest. Just do it.
Yeah, and I think definitely having Twitches as the that big first one is going to help you transition anywhere you want to go. So that's going to be that's definitely awesome. Okay, so I think one interesting thing that you said, and this is going to be my last question. Then we're going to open up for Q&A. So drop your questions and stuff for Gabriella on the chat. I think the really interesting thing that you said plenty of things, but I think the interesting thing that stood out, what you said is when you was looking at roles, you would look at the requirements, and you would see it something that you was actually interested in to learn. And I think, and I'm gonna be honest, I've never had that approach. I've always had, can I do it? Where I do what they're asking for. And stuff. And so talk a little bit about it sounds like you have a love for learning and how that helps you along your journey.
So I think one thing people should also maybe keep in mind is that, I feel like it's also like a constant learning. I don't think there's any points where you're going to stop learning, especially like in engineering. It's endless. But like, could you maybe rephrase your question?
Yeah. So like your original statement was, you look at job postings and you say that's interesting for you to learn, and versus could I do it? Maybe why did you have that aspect as far as like I'm going to be interested to learn it versus doing it? Because I can't speak for everybody, but I know that's usually the way I approach it. So when I see a job posting, can I do it? So yeah.
So the thing, I think at the end of the day, it's probably going to be your perception about an internship. In my mind, when I see an internship, I see it as experiential learning. I'm learning and growing, and I have to learn. So I look at this and I say, oh, this is something I feel like I might like to do. I'm curious. I want to do it. I apply. So that's the thought process that goes through my mind when I look at opportunities. And also, I think at the end of the day, there's only so much you can really expect from an intern. Don't expect them to do something, miraculous. I mean, of course, they're very brilliant kids nowadays. I see them doing very wonderful things. But at the end of the day, it's also like, it's a process of growing. And I think it's also like an investment I feel like companies make to these students so that when they graduate, they come back and they learn, and eventually they become the stellar engineers that, create all those products that we use today.
Okay. Awesome. So we're going to open up for Q&A. We got a few questions already in the chat. So you start off, we got Rixio. He said, are there any internships at Twitch? If so, can you hook me up? Anybody can talk to.
I don't know if they're still hiring for the internship. I know it usually closes maybe sometime last month. I'm not sure, but sure, I can, connect you to the university programs, recruiters, Tom and Gina. I'm sure they'll be happy to have interns. Maybe, I don't know if this year is closed, for next year, hopefully. So I'll be happy to connect you to them.
Awesome. The next question is from Elena. He says, In the interviews you had, did they include technical questions? What type of questions were asked? Were there whiteboarding type of questions? And what did you do to prepare for such, if you had any?
So there were a mix of technical and behavioral. Um, just to talk more about that, for technical, I'd say do a lot of leak code problems. It really makes your thinking sharp, and you probably end up having similar questions depending on the company. HackerRank is also another one, and there are many other coding platforms, competitive coding platforms that help you. Um, in terms of the behavioral, I felt like in my personal process, I actually overlooked that a bit, and I would say I didn't know how to interview for a behavioral, so I just went in there and freestyled it, and it didn't work out so well. So there's a way you like to articulate yourself and talk about your projects and answer questions in certain ways that make sense. So I learned to use the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, results. It's a really good way for interviewing, and you can use it across any field, to be honest. So that's one way to go about those interviews. When you say whiteboarding type question, I guess at the end of the day, if you just went for like an interview, you may either do it virtually or you're going to be there in person. If you're there in person, you write it on a whiteboard. If they say use a computer, use a computer. But yeah, technical questions, legal type questions. I think the hardest you may ever find is maybe a medium question for an intern.
All right, next question is from Faisal. His question is, what are your career plans at Twitch?
I guess continue doing the work I'm doing, get promoted. I'll see where that takes me. I think that's it for now.
So next question is from Steven. He said, I have a hard time calling myself an engineer. When is it okay to apply for engineering positions?
I also struggled with that earlier. I honestly, you'd call yourself an engineer when you feel like you are an engineer. I really don't know when. So whenever you feel is right to call yourself an engineer, I would say you can call yourself an engineer. But you said, when is it okay to apply for an engineering position? I'm guessing that you probably don't have an engineering job, or you're just looking to get an engineering role. One thing I'll say is there's never a right time to do anything. You honestly just have to do it. Keep practicing. And if it's hard for you to break through to engineering, one of the very good ways to do that is maybe get like a graduate internship or an apprenticeship, which is what many companies are doing before you transition into like a full-time role as an engineer. So I guess that's my 2 cents on that.
Awesome. This question is from Jaren. It says, when did you decide what stack technology you wanted to focus on?
I don't think I ever decided what stack I wanted to focus on. I just wanted to learn, to be honest, like grow, get a job, many people are focused on stacks. I think at the end of the day, you might probably find your niche. I feel like my strongest affinity was to backend Python, or anything that had to use Python, to be honest. But like at the end of the day, for me, it was I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. So I feel like, who knows, maybe in the future, maybe 2 years from now, I don't know, I may just decide that, I just want to go do something else. I could decide, I'll do front end. But like at the end of the day, it's just having the engineer's intuition that you're able to seamlessly move between roles if you need or want to. And whatever works for you, to be honest. If you see a stack, you like it, that's what you want to do, then go ahead for it. If you get tired of it, you want to do something different, go ahead for it. That's what I have to say on that.
Awesome. Make sure I didn't miss any questions from the top. Okay. Okay, sweet. Well, Gabriella, Definitely appreciate your time coming in and talking to us from Twitch. I know Twitch right now is extremely busy with many of people streaming and watching. So definitely appreciate your time to join us. I'm going to put up Gabriella's QR code in a few seconds here where you can follow her, maybe DM her, send her email, if you would like that as well. And yeah, Gabriella, definitely appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Marlon. Glad to have been here.
Awesome. Thank you.